Alright guys, Chris here on a Saturday morning. I'm about to go to PetSmart here in just a minute. I was turning on my tank lights, had some coffee, sat down in the stool here to enjoy this tank and kind of check up on all the fish here. And unfortunately, whenever I sat my coffee cup down on the table, like not even really close to the tank, the firefish jumped out the back. So she jumped out, or he jumped out, whatever it is, kind of through this right here. Yeah, no, there's a lot of salt and stuff there, but it kind of happens. But it jumped through that tiny little gap and landed in behind the tank. So I'm about to go to PetSmart and buy a new glass lid. And I usually don't use the little plastic bit that they include for that reason. I usually just kind of toss it because I find that over time it kind of gets broken and in the way anyway. But for now, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to replace my hang on back there with an internal filter. I know I could cut up the plastic bit, but I'd rather just eliminate that risk entirely. Firefish are jumpers, so thought about DIYing a lid, but in order to do what I really want to do, it's gonna be like triple the price that I would pay for just a new glass lid from PetSmart. And while I would like to eventually do that, it's gonna make more sense to buy those materials in bulk and do it on most of my tanks at once. So that'll be the plan eventually. For now, we're just gonna go and we're gonna grab a new lid. Alright, so I just got back from the store, and unfortunately I did not get what I went for. I called PetSmart before I went, and they said that they had 2 of the lids I needed in stock, and unfortunately when I got there, they were not there. There was like a 30-minute gap between when I called and when I got there, and I guess I could have asked them to set one aside for me, but I did not. It's annoying, not the biggest deal in the world, but it's only like a 20-minute drive, but it's Saturday, traffic's always bad, it's just an annoyance, not that big of a deal. Then I went to Meijer, hoping that they would have some lids, and the only things that they had were like the built-in Tetra LED plastic hoods, and they were like $32, which is insane. There's no way I'm going to pay that much for, a lesser product, basically. But with that said, I just have to look around here, and I'm sure I can figure something out to kind of cover this gap. Yeah, I'll look around. I'll probably have some plastic wrap or something I can put on there for now. And then this too I might cover. But I think that the reason that he's jumped 3 or 4 times, I think that part of it is just where this tank is so bare. He's pretty skittish, and then ever since I cleaned off this front glass, it's been a lot worse. So I'm gonna let the algae regrow on the glass. I'm gonna cover up the back of the tank, and then from there, we're gonna see how he does. But he's still really skittish, but I think he's calmed down some now. Right, it's not wanting to focus on him. He looked okay when I put him back in. He wasn't out of the water for very long. Just kind of probably just a little bit scraped up, but we'll see what we can figure out. Alright, so what I've done from now is I've just found an old piece of acrylic and very sloppily cut it up, right? And it just kind of covers that for me. So that'll be a good temporary solution, because every time he jumped kind of backing away from me. And that's another reason why I think that this front glass being so clean is kind of messing with him. Because he always jumps kind of that way. So hopefully that'll keep him in the tank. That's really all I know to do at the moment. I hope it works out. We'll probably only do like a 3 or 4 week quarantine on at least that guy, just for that reason. I don't think this is a great environment for such a skittish fish, but I don't want to introduce any live rock or anything like that, just because I don't want to have to pull it and dry it out and everything like that or if I need to do medications or something like that. So for now, we're just gonna go with this, and hopefully it'll keep the fish inside. Alright guys, so this is the long-fin milk clownfish tank. It's just 10 gallons. And I tested the tank. We're running about 20 ppm of nitrates, which is not terrible, but it's higher than what I normally want when it comes to saltwater tanks. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to clean off all the algae on the front glass, and I'm going to change out about 2-3 gallons of water, change out the filter floss and the hang on back there, and we're just going to let that kind of marinate for another week. I will eventually get some algae eaters, some snails, some crabs, stuff like that in here. But I'm still not decided on what I want to do with this tank yet. Put that macroalgae in there. I thought about trying another macroalgae tank, but I'm not positive because it's hard to get stuff in and stuff in the mail right now, and all that has to be shipped. So I'm not 100% sure. I was gonna add some sand today, but I took it out of another tank about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that stuff is rancid. Like I soaked it in fresh water, and I've been changing that water out every couple days, and it smells like a sewer tank. It's real bad. Because I know it was a pretty well established sand bed that I took apart, and I didn't want to transfer it to this tank just because those fish hadn't been quarantined while they were in there, because I wasn't quarantining at the time, so I didn't want to risk it. So, that sand should be free of disease now because it's been dried out and soaked in fresh water, but oh lord, it stinks. So I'm sure it's got tons of organics, so I'm just going to let it keep on soaking in hot water over the next couple, hopefully just the next week, and then we'll add it to this tank. But right now, it is just rough. But we'll get that done, and we'll chime back in. Before I get too far into this, I just wanted to share what I use to clean off diatom algae like this. It's this little scrubby brush. You can get them at Walmart for like $2, and they're made to clean dishes with, but they don't have any soap or anything like that on them. They're just a brush, and they're really stiff, right? So they're got really stiff bristles. So for diatom algae, like this stuff here, it just kind of wipes off, and you can see that one wipe, it took pretty much that entire thing. And most brushes and stuff will do that. Credit cards will do it. This is not like a special thing, but it keeps me from having to break out like a razor blade, and it's kind of a reusable thing, as long as you sanitize it between tanks, you're not going to be spreading anything. And this thing is I want to say 2 or 3 months old, so you can see it's still pretty much completely clean, so it works really well for it. Easy to clean off. I do recommend it. It even works pretty well for hair algae if you're scrubbing a rock or something like that. But yeah, just wanted to share. $2 at Walmart. It's a pretty good value. Alright, so I got this water changed down. I did about 2 or 3 gallons, not too much. Just mix it up with some instant ocean. Not too bad. As you can see, I did finish scraping off front glass there. I did an okay job. I didn't go crazy. Didn't bother with the sides or the back, because it'll just be regrown within a day or two. But that is what it is. It's new tanks, right? Go kind of back here. I did throw in some, I call it filter floss, but it's really pillow batting or polyfill, just from Walmart. Works great. At just catching particles and stuff. And there's not a ton in this tank, right? It's a little bit cloudy, but it's not too bad. But over time, after a water change, you just see gunk fly off from the rock, especially if you have a sand bed, and it's just really helpful to be able to collect that. But yeah, that's it for this tank, and now I gotta do a bunch of family stuff. But when we come back home tonight, we'll probably do at least another water change or 2. So yeah, see you guys later. Alright guys, I got all my family stuff done for the day. It's now about 8:30 or so. I'm home. I want to do at least another water change or 2. This is the 37-gallon tank that we set up probably last week. Yeah, last Saturday. If you haven't watched the video, you should, but basically it's just home right now to one Wyoming white clownfish and one turbo snail as well. It's been set up for the same amount of time as the Mocha clownfish tank has, and we're starting to see some diatom action, right, on the rocks, a little bit on the sand bed, but we're not seeing very much because this is just like a Finex
stingray on here. But it's pretty low light, so that's why we're not seeing a ton of algae. But that's fine, because that's what I wanted to do for this tank. It's plenty bright enough to see the fish, see everything going on, and it might even be bright enough to grow a couple, like, soft corals. But, you know, it's not going to be an algae farm, which is, I think, a good thing. But, yeah, we're going to do a small water change. You can see I've been a little bit lax on keeping up with evaporation. See that black line is where it should be, so it's a little bit lower, or a little bit low. But since this is a Fowler tank, I keep this slightly lower anyway, so it's probably only like 1.024, 0.025, something like that. So it's definitely manageable. Yeah, let's get this water change done, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I ended up doing a 10-gallon water change on this tank. See, there's tons of like particulates and stuff in the water. But yeah, I did 10 gallons. Threw in some filter floss and pillow batting up there to help clear up all that cloudy water. I didn't bother cleaning off the rocks or anything because I want the algae on there. This tank will probably be going pretty green, I would imagine, or pretty brown at least, within the next week. And then hopefully within the next 3 weeks, we'll start adding the other inhabitants to this tank as they finish out their quarantine. Probably starting with like a firefish, and then adding in, you know, the royal grandma, and then eventually the tail spot blenny. I'm just doing the blenny last because he's going to want to eat on a bunch of algae, and I'm not sure that this tank is going to have that much for a little while. So, but yeah, that'll be it for me tonight. See if I can do the old camera maneuver right here. Yeah, there we go. It's about 10 o'clock. It is 10 o'clock exactly right now, and as someone who gets up before 5 o'clock in the morning throughout the week, it's pretty late for me, right? It's getting about that time. So I'm gonna head to bed, and you'll probably see this video tomorrow. But that's it for me, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.